There's nothing like the thrill of watching a live hockey game, the chill of the ice, the roar of the crowd, and the excitement when your team scores. I've been using Game Time to grab tickets, and it's not just for sports. They've got concerts, comedy shows, and more. With their new Game Time Picks feature, finding the perfect seats has never been easier. I found an incredible super deal for an upcoming Habs game, and the app even shows you the seat view before you buy. It's fast and simple. Game Time Picks curates the best options for you with all-in pricing to avoid surprise fees. Plus, their lowest price guarantee means you get 110% of the difference if you find a better deal. Game Time Picks makes it easy to find and save on tickets for any event, and their customer service policy is the most flexible out there. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Episode 91 of the Habs Culture podcast. My name is Justin Schwartz, alongside Liam Baum. We just went over some of the bigger injuries that occurred over the last week in Habsland. Laine, Ryan Backer, a lot of preseason games, a lot of injuries. It's just been crazy. But with all that being said, it doesn't change the fact that we are less than 7 days away from the start of the Montreal Canadiens season. The Canadiens will be facing off against the Leafs at home October 9th. So make sure to tune in for that, because it has been a long offseason, especially when you consider in playoffs, right, Liam? Like, it's just, you even forget that the Habs exist at one point because of all of the playoff hockey we're watching. So hopefully we get a long, fun, prosperous season. And you know what? Maybe the Habs surprise, make the playoffs, make us all happy, bring us a little bit of, give us something to look forward to, because it has been a long 3 seasons. But nonetheless, we thought that with the season quickly approaching, it would be fun to give our Montreal Canadiens hot takes for the season. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying hot takes means hot takes. So
they're boiling.
If you're in the comments and you're upset, remember that not only are we Habs fans, but right now we had to put on our hats where we become biased Habs fans. We have to be outlandish. We have to be crazy, and we have to be all the words that you could put into that bucket in this episode. So this is a disclaimer. If you're going to get triggered,
the warning sign.
It's a warning sign. It's a warning sign because we are going to be pretty crazy. I know one of Liam's takes, but I don't know the other two. I don't know, Liam. Do you know all 3 of mine? Because I changed a couple.
I only know one, I think.
Okay, so that's going to be fun.
We're going to surprise each other too.
I hope I'm laughing a little bit just for the sake of it. But hey, like, if you're willing, you want to throw a couple bucks on these plays. I mean, you never know. I guess it could be. I mean,
we don't advise you.
Yeah, definitely not. But definitely considered long shots. Put it that way.
Yeah.
But nonetheless. We'll get right into it. Liam, I said that we'd start with your first hot take of the 2024-25 Habs season. Get us started.
All right. First hot take, probably maybe the warmest of my other takes, of my 3 takes. But I've got the Habs as a top 10 power play in the NHL this year. Hold the phone. In the last 3 years, they've been a bottom 6 power play at around 17 to 19 or 17, 18, 19%. In order to be a top 10 power play, based on last year and a couple years before that, it's around 23%. So we're raising the power play by 6% this coming year. And I think it's very possible, considering Patrick Laine is there, or when he comes back. And we got another year of development with Caulfield, who is one of the highest volume shooters in the NHL. Kirby Dach, 6'4", 5", standing in front of the net, slapping the bumper, and Sue's ripping shots. So give me the Habs as a top 10 power play at 23% this coming year.
Now, I'm gonna say something. I think that take is, like you said, is possible. It is possible. But I will say that I think it is contingent depending on the way that they're setting up the power play this year. Because in the preseason, I didn't like the way it looked with Caulfield on the right side.
No,
Suzuki,
because
they switched it up.
Yeah,
he took him off as one-timer.
Yeah,
so
he was on the right.
It kind of bothered me, to be honest, because I liked Susie in the right side, wheel and rip, because he did score, fact check, 33 goals last season. So I don't know why you would change that. And at the end of the day, the power play did look good to end the season. I also do think that your take is debatably contingent on what happens on that D spot with Matheson or Lane Hudson. Now,
Yep.
my question is to you, for them to reach this 23% or that top 10 unit, would you rather Matheson or would you rather Lane Hudson?
Hmm. I Short answer, give me Lane Hudson. But I want to see what because Matheson deserves it right now. Like what
I
he
mean, I
did
don't think
last
you,
year. Yeah.
yeah.
Look, that Habs power play was awful last year. So I mean, why not just throw Hudson on it? But Matheson did do very well. So give me Matheson at the start of the year. Give me 10 games of Mike Matheson. We're gonna see how that goes. If it's not working, put Lane Hudson. And then when Line comes back, I am slotting him in on the left side. And Caulfield's gonna play on the right. Suzuki's gonna play bumper, and I guess Slav will play in front of the net. I know that's like way different than what it's set up right now, but I feel like that's like again, I don't know, but ideal in my mind. Ideal in my mind. And I think considering it was at 17% last year, why not just change it up completely? So,
I like it. I like it. I honestly do, like. I think it's a hot take, but it
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me considering I guess the skill that we have on this power play.
Yeah.
I mean, it showed at the end of last season. I think in order to get to that top 10, there's going to have to be a lot that falls into place in terms of personal production wise from some of these guys. But it doesn't change the fact that it could happen if certain guys meet their, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like meet
Their ceiling.
their ceiling, you know?
Yeah.
And you're not going to get all guys meeting their ceiling at the same time. I think, that would be ideal, but I don't think that that's going to happen this season. So,
If
hey, we'll see.
three of the five guys on that power play, whether it's Dak, whether it's Slav, Suzuki, Caulfield, if three of the five of them can hit that ceiling, I feel like it's very possible.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, we'll move on to my first hot take because it does bode really, really well with your take, and that's for Nick Suzuki to reach 90 plus points this season. And kind of with your take, if he puts up 90 plus points, I could see a world where that power play significantly improves because you're looking at a season last year for Suzuki where he put up 77 points in 82 games. Came the closest to being point per game for the Canadiens, of course. And I just think he's building on that. Like, I think we're moving in that direction where he's 25 years old. I would consider him in the prime of his career right now. I think he unfortunately lost Line, which could have been very, very helpful in that top six, whether they would have played together or not. But power play wise, I think he would have got a shot with him. And it still could happen right come January. But my point is that to start the season, that's not the case. But I still do think that it is entirely possible. I think that the goals you could make the the claim that Suzuki's goals could come down. He did score 33 goals last year, which was quite impressive for a guy who's not considered to be a primary goal scorer. But I do think Caulfield's goals will come up a tick. And if that is the case, Suzuki will benefit on from an assist perspective. And I do think Slavkovsky will score similar, if not more, goals than he did last year. So if both those things happen, if both those things coincide there, I think there is a decent opportunity that Suzuki could bump his point production up by 13 points this season and reach the 90-point plateau for the first time in his career.
I think the simple math is just if Caulfield and Slav produce, Suze will also
Hey, and
produce.
Kirby Doc is there too. So you're getting keep in mind, last year the Habs didn't have Line, so that's the first thing, which they will get at some point throughout the season.
Yeah.
And Kirby Doc played a game in a period. So you're going to add those two guys.
And Hudson, which is a
Hudson.
huge
So
add.
who's a dynamic, who could be one of the more dynamic, defensemen in the league, even right now. I don't mean complete, but dynamic. You could make that argument. So
yeah. You're adding some form of playmaking, like the passes he makes. It's unlike what we've seen in a long time. So I like that. I like that as well. And like quickly, what do you think Suzuki's ceiling is this season in terms of points?
It's a really good question. I think naturally you have to bake in the fact that he plays on a Habs team that will realistically still finish bottom 10 in the league, in my opinion. But I do think that the ceiling, I think 90 points is definitely a little, I wouldn't say it's out there, but that's technically if you play an 80, not technically, if you play an 82 game season, you're 8 points above point per game, which is significant in this league.
Yeah.
Ceiling, I would say, oh God, I think a lot of things would need to go right, but I guess ceiling is everything going right. I would say 100 points
Okay.
ceiling, maximum output.
Yeah.
Do I think he
I
comes close to that? Realistically, not. Like, I think 90 points is going to be his realistic maximum.
okay. No, I think I'm thinking the same thing. Like 90 is probably everything goes right this year. But if you want to talk about like an not unrealistic, but everything goes right, like there's not a single bad thing about the Canadiens this season. Suzuki hits 100 points. So I like that as well. So
Well, it's also funny, I find, before you go into your next one,
yeah.
is that I remember having this conversation with a bunch of people on Twitter near the end of last season when I was basically saying, and I think we were basically saying, like, if Suzuki was on another team, on a winning team, on a team that's, in a playoff spot, top 16 team, has a top 10 power play unit, so on and so forth. Like, you can't possibly convince me that he's not easily a 90-point player.
100%. Like
Like,
imagine I hate to
okay.
make this comparison because we're big rivals with them, but imagine slotting him onto the line with Pasta and whatever if it's Marchand or something. Like you cannot tell
Right.
me he's not getting 70 assists.
Or take Tavares out of the Leafs and put him on that second center line and then give him power
Yeah.
play one. Like, you can't possibly tell. And again, those are all granted stacked units, but I still think you're getting a pretty much a point per game production out of a guy that literally that 2 years in a row finished fifth to last in the league.
Yeah. No, I
I
think
know
it's
one of
fair.
those years he didn't finish point per game. He was only 66 points in 82, but he's 25 years old. So I mean, again, we'll see. But I think when you talk about ceiling, you have to talk about literally as high as they can get to. And I think that there
Yeah.
is the potential that if everything goes right in a season for Suzuki and the Habs are, prime position, top 10 power play contenders in the league, he could be a 100-point player.
Yeah. I don't think a ceiling has
Stutzel
to
can be,
be
he can. That's my boldish take.
okay. Add that to the list. No, again, I don't think a ceiling has to be necessarily super realistic.
Right.
It just has to be in the realm of possibility. So we'll move on from that. I'll go on with my next hot take, maybe a little bit harder than the last one because I don't know if it's very likely, but I have Caden Gooley will emerge as a top pairing defenseman after this season. That doesn't necessarily mean points because he's not a big power play guy, doesn't gather a lot of points, but overall as a defenseman, he emerges into that guy that you can rely on to put on the ice and he's going to shut it down for you.
I don't think that there's many arguments to be made against it. I will say that I think I think the thing holding him back is pretty much two things. I think the fact that, again, this season, maybe, but I wonder what happens when guys like Mayu and Reinbacher,
Yeah.
after he recovers from his injury, what happens there, because Reinbacher is the real right shot D on this team. Or sorry, when I say real, I mean it's because Gooley's playing the right side, but he's a lefty.
Yeah.
But I guess my question to you is, I don't know how to put it. I think there. So you're saying it from the perspective of he's just you're going to be able to rely on him night in and night out to give you like 24, 25 minutes a night.
Yeah.
Shut it down with Hudson on the left side, for example.
Yeah. And like again, I'll make a comparison whether it's like Alex Pietrangelo, it wasn't like a 70-point guy, but you throw him on the ice, he can play the overtime minutes, he can play the penalty kill. If you need him to play power play, he'll go on there. He's going to be the guy that you can rely on. So I think
Like a Slavin.
yeah, exactly. Maybe a little less defenseman, more offense, but again, around that tier of
Similar in
guys.
production, though, realistically, because I don't know if Gooley will ever be like I think he'll be like a 35-point
Yeah,
defenseman,
yeah,
point
probably.
defenseman.
Maybe like a Moritz Sider kind of, you know what I mean?
Right. And my question to you on that point, follow up, is
Yep.
do you think that if he emerges as that top, I guess, pairing defenseman, whether it's the left or the right side, but let's assume he's playing the right side because that's just what he's been doing for the past couple of years. Do you think he'll be good enough to be that top line defenseman on a potential cup winning team or a very competitive Habs team? Or do you think even though he's that good in your mind, and I know this is all speculative, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but even if he is that good, he might still be surpassed by a guy like Reinbacher?
Yeah, I think it's possible, but I think I'm emphasizing the fact that he's going to be better than Mayu, Reinbacher,
Okay.
better than, any of those guys. So
I don't think it's out of the question. He's still a 15th
yeah.
overall pick, or
Yeah, it
16th.
is. And I think he's shown in the past that he is very good. So I don't think the Canadians drafted him to be just a fourth defenseman. I think he's shown that he can be a lot more. And considering he's dealt with injuries and never really played a full season. I think this year could be a big year for him.
No, I like it. I'm a big Caden Gooley fan, and I'm really hoping that he could stay healthy because he's dealt with his fair share of injuries. He just has had his appendix removed also, but
Yeah.
he'll be good to go for game one of the season. And
Yep.
I mean, that's a pretty standard procedure. So we'll see where that takes us. But I love Gooley. I like the take. We'll move on to my second take here. Another forward, another individual player. But it might surprise you because I did switch it up. I did say something to you before
Yeah.
we started the show, and I switched it up.
All right.
My prediction is for Alex Newhook to exceed 50 points this season. Now, on from a when you listen to it out loud, it doesn't sound too crazy because 50 points is 50 points.
Yeah.
However, in his career, he's never exceeded 34 points, which was last year with the Habs. But that was in a 55 game sample. I think the reason that I'm projecting for 50 plus points, which I think is actually very good for a guy who I don't think gets talked. I say doesn't get talked about enough, but whenever we talk about the core guys on this team, he's never in the talks. He's never in the consideration. I wouldn't call him an outcast, but he's definitely like a secondary character in
Yeah.
this TV
He's
show
like a
that we
tier
put together.
below.
Correct. But I do think that there is the possibility that he could put up 50 points because for two reasons. I think with line 8 out, as much as that does suck, I think that it does give him more opportunity. And I do, well, for the first few months. And secondly, I think Kirby Dach actually could, if Kirby Dach is playing at, 100% healthy, elevates anyone's game. And I think that early on last year, granted it was a game and a half, but I do think that we saw a bit of the connection between those two guys. And I would love to see them play together consistently for the better half of the first of this season. And if that is the case, I do see a world where Newhook exceeds 50 points throughout 82 games if he plays that way. And I think we're looking at a guy that, maybe wasn't the most dynamic left wing / center on this Montreal Canadiens team. However, he might be that guy that you want in your middle six on a very, very competitive Habs team in the future. So that's why I think this is that breakout season for Newhook to establish himself as an every game player on this team going forward.
Honestly, think that's the one that's most likely to happen out of all of these,
Yeah.
because last year he was on a 45-point pace. And I know you can't
Right.
just like look at a pace and say that's reality, but like I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that he increases his pace by 5 points. So I like that. I think it could even be higher. I think if we wanted to make it even a hotter take, add
Yeah,
another
well,
5 points to that 55.
or make it, but see, here's the reason that I did look. I know it's a bold take or a hot takes episode,
Yeah.
so I guess I got to be a little bit more out there than that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason that I'm, I guess, playing it a little bit more conservative is because I was thinking of maybe going 60 points. But I think if you're putting up 60 points in 82 games as a forward in this league, that's when I start to consider you like, okay, elite is crazy. I wouldn't say elite, but 60 points in 82 games, in my opinion, is a top 6 forward. No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
No doubt. Because think about it. How many guys, like, you're not getting 60 points from every top 6 player on every team in the league. That's just not how that works. Some guys provide more goals, some guys provide more assists, but overall, you're not getting 60 points consistently. If you're a 50-point guy, you could be considered a top six on any team. So that's why I went with the 50 points. I think 60 points pushes it. But if we want to raise it to 55, I'm okay to do that. I'll take the 5 extra points.
All right,
and
yeah, give the
shoot
over
there.
here. No,
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I think you're right about Kirby Dach helping Newhook out, and I think when Kirby Dach's at his best, he elevates the people around him. But the only thing that I'm gonna downplay here is that Newhook probably won't be on the power play 1 this year. So unfortunately, this season compared to last year, he's gonna get probably a bit less power play time. But I still don't think you need to be a power play 1 player to achieve 50, 55 points.
Yeah, see, funny you said that because I think that does play a massive role. I do also bake in the potential that they maybe look, if things go south early on the power play and, they're not living up to your top 10 expectation, they look to move some pieces around and Newhook makes an appearance and maybe they try and, I'm not a big fan of the 1A, 1B, really not.
No.
But I do see but at the same time, the Habs notoriously for the last 3 seasons not only have a bad PP1, but I wouldn't even consider the PP2 a power play. Like, it is legitimately 5 guys playing 5 on it. I don't even understand. Like, it's actually,
it's like they're not even on the power play. They're just
no, it's like they're
5
just
on 5.
and the way that they throw the puck around, there's no structure. So
No, no,
what I'm
no.
saying is that they have, if I'm not mistaken, Alex Burrows did not come back to the Montreal Canadiens this season.
Nope.
I'm pretty convinced of that. And with that being said, I've heard a lot of rumblings that it is MSL taking over the power play duties in Montreal. And if that is the case and they're looking for more structure and not just to overload one line, I think they could run into some issues if they're just, they have too many mouths to feed on a PP1. And I know that sounds stupid considering you look at Tampa and they have all these guys but my point is that if it's not working, there's no reason to try out different things. And I think that New Hook could be a beneficiary of those quote unquote experiments is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Well, also, like we didn't mention it when Laine comes back, that power play too, if he's on it, it could be a really solid power play too. And
Because someone's going to have to go on the other one, right?
yeah, exactly. So if New Hook's with Laine there, like that could be
Who knows?
really good. And even adding like a guy like Heineman and Hudson at the top, like we're looking at a seriously solid
And
power play.
Joshua too, right? Like,
Yeah, like if you
like
throw Josh Anderson to just stand there in front of the
no,
net.
but dude, I mean, I can't do that anymore. I'm not gonna lie. I hope for the best for Josh Anderson, and I want him to succeed. But he is the farthest thing from a power play player.
Ugh,
Farthest
it's
thing.
terrible. It's
Farthest thing.
terrible.
I can't fathom watching another year of PP2 Josh Anderson. So that's why I'm hoping that there's maybe a bit of diversification on that second power play, which leads to New Hook's success to crack 50 or 55 points wherever we want to set the line at. But we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I like it.
The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. The Montreal Canadiens are taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs Wednesday, October 9th in their home opener. I really don't think you guys want to miss out on a chance to get in on the action for that game. It should be a great one. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
All right, my third take here. Hottest of them all. It's boiling. We're at like 100 degrees Celsius here. Marty St. Louis wins the Jack Adams Award. And you might be like, oh, that's so possible. He's such a great coach. But what needs to happen for Marty to win the Coach of the Year is the Habs need to make the playoffs, realistically. When was the last time a coach... Yeah, when was the last time a coach who won the Jack Adams Award being on a team that didn't make the playoffs? So it's the Canadiens have to make the playoffs, and that's the hottest part about this take.
So you have like a basically like a two-parter here.
Yeah, I guess it is a two-parter because the
They
Habs
go
would have to
hand
make the playoffs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I guess you could say that's the toughest part about this. Marty St. Louis is a great coach, and no doubt in my mind, if the Canadiens made the playoffs, he would win the Jack Adams Award.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty much locked in.
Yeah, it just wouldn't make sense if he didn't. Like, this team has no like ambition or strive to make the playoffs, but like they have no business being there. So if they do it, and Marty St. Louis is taking over this power play, the power play goes to 23%, they're top 10. All my things are coming together right now.
So at the very worst, to make the playoffs for the Canadiens, they would actually have to realistically finish 5th in the division, correct?
Yeah, at worst.
Like at the very worst, because that's also assuming that Tampa takes or whatever. I mean, realistically, one of those Atlantic teams will take a spot, and then you've got like they're going to be basically fighting it out with two other teams in the Metro.
It could be two Atlantic. It could be two Atlantic teams.
So,
which again, I don't think it's impossible. Realistic, maybe not. Impossible, no, because I think that
would mean that like the 5 best teams in the division, in the conference, are all Atlantic teams, pretty much.
Yeah, and like if you told me the Islanders, the Capitals, the Penguins, the Flyers, and the Blue Jackets don't make the playoffs, I'd be like, oh, really? Like, I'm not surprised.
But, no, I agree.
Yeah, which is why I think it's more likely. And again, you have to have like 93 points, 92 points to make the playoffs, and that could be like 42 wins and a few overtime losses. So it's a big step. And again, like it's probably not very likely, but Marty St. Louis gets that Jack Adams if the Canadiens make the playoffs.
Hey man, I'm not fully against your idea of it. I think it's a fun one. I think for him, like you said, to win the Jack Adams, there's going to have to be a lot that falls into place. But I don't think it's completely impossible. Like I said, I did mock the Canadiens to finish fifth in the division. So in that case, I
Possible.
kind of bodes well for you a little bit. So
Yeah,
we can we
exactly.
can mix up our stuff there. But no, I think that one will be a fun one to monitor. But I do agree. I do think. But here's a take on the take is that I do think that the first time that the Canadiens do make the playoffs, Marty will win the Jack Adams. Like if that's not this year,
Mhm.
like let's say that's next year, for example.
And does
Like I still
Kent
think he wins
Hughes
it.
do they get like the
Deal of the year,
double
deal
award?
of the
It's
double
Kent and
dip,
Marty. Yeah,
double
yeah.
dip.
They
Wow,
double dip with the
people,
awards.
there's probably if there's non-Habs fans listening to this right now, they're losing their mind, dude. Like losing their mind.
Yeah.
That's great though. No, yeah, we'll see, but I like that one. And then I guess we'll round it off with this one. Um, I have this might be my boldest one. I think it's definitely my boldest one. I have the Habs decor finishing first in scoring in the league amongst all 32 decors.
I
So,
have to see the stats. I have to see
so
the stats
I
of like the most goals by decors. Do you have it?
yeah, and if do you mind pulling that up while I speak because
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
convince a lot of people here. Um, my reasoning for that is actually just well, I don't have a structured reasoning, but I do think that adding Lane Hudson doesn't hurt. Although he's primarily a playmaker, I think you're just bringing another dynamic defenseman who could put the puck in the net. Mike Matheson had 11 goals last year, which is really not bad. And I think depending on where we're at on PP1, he could sustain that production. And I think Gooley at 6 goals could bump that up a little bit as well. In terms of Jack Barron, Savard, Struble, again, relatively skeptical that they, amass for over 20 goals. But some of these guys, I mean, Barron's more offensively gifted than the rest. Jack Guy has a knack for, getting his wrist shot on net. Look, I'm going out on a limb here. It is a hot take. It is boiling. It's we're above 100 degrees Fahrenheit here. But I just think that we are a relatively dynamic decor, and there are guys that can chip in offensively. And I think that for the Canadiens to be what's the word I'm looking for? Any bit successful, they're going to have to get contribution from the decor, and as a result, I think that translates to first in the league in scoring. So we'll
Okay,
see.
I found the stat. I found the
Tell me.
stat. And you're gonna be oh, never mind. Oh no, this is right. Oh my god. Last year the Canadiens were fourth with 48 goals. Number one, 64 by Colorado. You got
Okay,
Kale McCarr.
but that makes sense. Yeah.
Second, the Flames with 52. Carolina 3 with 49. Edmonton tied with Montreal for 48.
Wow. So my take doesn't even it's not even that hot
It's
anymore.
so possible.
Well, okay, and think about that. That's a decor without Lane Hudson and Gooley injured for a significant period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you just never know. I mean, if Savard's doing his toe drag to the middle of the ice, 3 times per game, we could see that. No, but jokes aside, I do think that the scoring from last year will be maintained. I do think the Habs have relatively aggressive. You said Carolina's on that list as well, right?
Carolina is number 3.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And number 2 is Calgary.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
what's kind of surprising as well is the Canadiens had the best defenseman shooting percentage at 7.8%. So was it lucky? I don't know. Colorado had 7.7. But again, I don't
Well, I'm sure they're taking way more shots too. Because think about it, like Colorado, like if you have McCarr on your team, you're getting 20 plus goals a season. Mackenzie Weegar put up 20 goals last year. Like,
yeah, and like you got Brent Burns on Carolina, and like there's still guys like
and you
Girard
have
and
so many like
Taves. Like
shooters, like guys that are putting the puck on net. It doesn't surprise me that we have a higher shooting percentage.
it's actually insane. Like how it's funny because the Senators are 6, but besides that, it's like all playoff. It's not even all playoff teams. Like Buffalo was there too. I I guess it's really random, but
I don't
turns
know.
out it's very
Anyway,
possible.
it doesn't change my boiling hot take, and I want to consider
No,
it boiling hot.
yeah,
So we'll look. I mean, Matheson scored 11 last year. I think, like I said, can stay similar. Gooley can bump up his production a bit. And I think, look, like, I don't know, like, if Lane Hudson plays a full 82 in Montreal, like, does he score 10 goals?
Yeah, I think he scores 10 goals. Like I
I
think
mean, that's still significant though.
yeah, it's significant. I
Like
think
for a defenseman.
he can get like 10 and 40. I feel like that's very realistic if he plays power play like Matheson.
And
How many did Matheson you say have?
11 last year.
Where did this 48 come from? I'm actually really curious.
Well, Gouli I know had 6. So I'm going to do some more research. Gouli had 6. David Savard had oh my god, 6. Sorry, I thought it said 18. I was going to freak out. Jack had
Justin
3.
Barron had
Oh, no,
7.
yeah, 3. Justin Barrett had 7, and
Kovacevic 6.
what about, that's not bad actually. What about Struble? Jaden
Struble, he had
Struble had
3.
3. So 3 from Struble, 3 from Jack 3 from 3 from Barron. No, 3 from Savard. 7 from Barron.
That's
6 from
crazy.
Gouli. 11 from Matheson. 6 from Kovacevic. Is there no? I guess there's no one else.
3 from Jordan.
Oh, Harris. Granted, we have a lot of defensemen in the mix,
Yeah.
but it doesn't change the fact that you. Oh yeah, I guess that you're counting like 8 defensemen there.
No, but you can only play 6 a game.
No, I understand, but you're still counting 8 defensemen towards the total.
Yeah, but that means some guys missed, right? Like all the games will all even out.
True.
Hey, the Canadiens know how to score on the point. We're just ripping
I don't
them.
know, man. Look, man, they're book it. First in the league in defensive scoring. Matheson will stay the same. Hudson will score 10 goals this season. I think Caden Gouli will bump up his number a bit, and the Habs will finish first in defenseman scoring. Point la ligne, done. That's where that's where the hot takes end.
Let me add this
fun.
in.
Yeah, add it in.
How did Justin Barron have more goals than assists? Like, is he a forward? Like,
how many games did he play last year?
He played 48, which is quite a bit.
So
do you think he touches 48?
How many assists? How many assists?
6 assists. Kovacevic had 7 assists and 6 goals.
How does that even happen?
I don't know.
Wait, what was your question? Do I think he what?
Do you think Justin Barron plays more than 48 games this year?
Oh boy. I don't even. No. 48? No, I don't think he plays more than last season. I do think there's going to be some sort of, like, I think Struble's earned a spot on that bottom pairing. And I do think that at the end of the day, I do think Jack will be there too. I do.
I think Mayu too at some point.
That too, who's still up with the team, by the way. So
yeah,
they haven't sent him down yet. We're a week into the season. Who knows? Maybe he just plays.
We also missed the statistic. Gustav Lindstrom, 3 goals.
Yeah, that is actually crazy that he even had 3 goals. But anyway,
14 games.
So we're just adding all these defensemen in here, and I'm sure. Oh no, Mayu didn't have a goal with the Habs. Anyway,
no.
I don't know, man. I mean, let's keep it at that. I think those are definitely burning hot takes. Let us know what you think of those takes. Which ones are more realistic than others? Which one do you like more than others? And it'll be fun to monitor those throughout the season and keep tabs on that. But anyway, that was episode 91. 91. 9 away from 100. That's crazy.
Yeah.
We've been having fun with it. And we're really, really excited for the season. So let us know what you think of this episode. Let us know what you think of our predictions. And we'll see you guys next time.